Let's kick off with the first group of the day here, Kolaris. We have Group D coming your way.
Yep, we do, and those players are represented in the form of Grubby, Starbuck, Lucifron, and Genius. A very mixed bag, certainly two big fan favorites, and then we have, obviously, Starbuck and Genius. Starbuck not that well known, but let's kick things off with Grubby first.
Yeah, okay, well, Grubby started his WCS career this year with a round of 32 finish in Season 1. A shock to many people. But coming into Season 2, oh boy, did he really kick things off in Season 2, finishing in the semi-finals, a top 4 finish in Season 2, and went on to represent Europe in the Season 2 finals, and didn't do as well there, unfortunately. He lost both games and didn't even take a single map away from the Titans that came from North America and Korea. But the big highlight today of Grubby is that on the hit list of players on the WCS ranking system, he's next online.
He is.
Like, we talked about it a little bit before, you know, in previous shows. We had Naniwa obviously coming into Season 3 with big hopes. Scarlet has a big question mark around her name if she even plays this season. Then we come down the list. We had TLO, who got knocked out. Stefano's retired. And the next player on that list that isn't Korean is Grubby right there, ranked number 24. Yep,
and he certainly is. So he needs those points to advance on. But this is a group that could be very volatile. We'll see if he's going to go up against these players properly. And one of those is a crazy young guy by the name of Starbuck.
16-year-old from Slovenia. And this player, we've mentioned it as well in other shows. Yep. I'm excited to see him play today. For any of you that don't know how he plays, you know Hiva, he's been making a massive name for himself recently in the Korean scene in WCS. Even today, if you haven't watched the games, do recommend to check them out.
Yes.
Starbuck is exactly the same from what I've seen. He plays a very, very hyper-aggressive playstyle. From even one-bait roaches I've seen against Terran players who go command center first. He has a wide range of builds and strategies, from super aggressive to macro-oriented. The funny thing is, he's had a bit of a weird career, and I do want to talk a little bit about him here, because he is the least known within this group.
Yeah.
In 2012 was when he really come into the scene. In 2012, that's so late into StarCraft 2. And you covered a lot of his games playing Go for StarCraft Cups, playing Zotac Cups, and he was a player that did well and beat out most of the unnamed players, but always lost, or pretty much mostly lost, against named players. But we did see some brilliance. He took maps away from a couple of people. He took a series away from a couple of pro players back then. But in 2013, he's gone through multiple qualifiers to get here today through Challenger League, and he's finally on the big stage after a lot of hard work put in.
Yeah, we saw a lot from Starbuck. And even so, you know, it's really, really fun to watch an absolutely crazy out-of-the-box player, because he does not play Zerg like very many people do play Zerg. So it'll be cool to see what he's going to bring to the table here today. And now moving on to our third player, we have a man called Lucifron, who a lot of people are very familiar with.
Oh, man, Lucifron is, of course, a fantastic Terran player. One of the best in the European scene, of course, and has a lot of fans. And everyone's expecting him to go through this group today alongside Grubby. But, of course, the two other players in this group could challenge that. But Lucifron struggles from the same problem that his brother does. He cannot get past the round of 8 in 2013. Of course, he's been higher than that. He got 3rd place, I suppose, at WCS Europe Finals last year. But he needs a performance. He's like a player, he's like a Grubby here in this group. He's a player that actually still could go to BlizzCon if he was to do super well. And when I say super well, needs a season finals this season.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because, you know, we keep touting that Lucifron's, he's going to get there eventually, but his results ever since we started saying that have kind of slipped a little bit, so he has to prove himself. And then we have our 4th and final man in this group, a player that has been on the receiving end of Starbucks craziness. It is the currently teamless Genius.
Yeah, teamless Genius, leaving Azubu about 10 days ago, 11 days ago. He's a former BlizzCon champion. If you don't know who Genius is, then well, welcome to StarCraft 2, because a lot of people that have been around know him from a very, very long time ago. He won the BlizzCon in 2010. He was a GSL finalist. He's one of the most consistent during that period, 2011, 2012. Finishes in GSL, always top 16, round of 32, even higher sometimes, round of 8. And then he got to the finals in 2012.
What a final.
But towards the end, since he joined Slayers, actually, it's really weird because it's along the same line. Since joining Team Slayers back then, he had a decline in results, and it carried through into 2013, where he was not completely out of the GSL. And he tried to requalify for it, Kolaris. He tried, but he couldn't make it. He failed in Challenger League qualifier for the WCS career. But he accomplished that goal in Season 2 through many a qualifier, found himself in Challenger League, and now finds himself alongside Starbuck as the two players coming from Challenger League into Premier.
Yeah, so a pretty darn good lineup here for today. This is a group that both of us have been very excited about, because we have some great fan favorites, and then we have really one in the form of Starbuck, a massive wild card that can bring anything to the table. So let's take a look at the games that we have today to kick things off, as we have later on Starbuck versus Lucifron, and then we will have first Grubby versus Genius. As always, dual tournament format here. So the winners will face off for that first round of 16 spot, and then the losers of these two games do fall down to that lower bracket to fight for a chance to play against the loser of the upper, so they can get a second round 16 spot.
That's right. So that's how it's going to shape up. So before we do get in the games, though, of course, as you know, the WCS Europe has been sponsored by Rocket.
Yeah.
Claris, give me some more infos on what's happening today.
Well, actually, we have a different competition this week from the lovely guys at Rocket. All you have to do is, this is a little bit kind of unique here. You have to tweet us with the hashtag Rocket and hashtag WCS with the second place to advance through.
Not first,
Not
third.
Definitely not third.
Not fourth either.
No. Second place finisher in this group. And if you are successful, you can win yourselves a lovely Rocket Pure Optical Mouse from the good fellows at Rocket themselves. So some nice little prizes on offer here at WCS Europe as well. We love to give you some free stuff.
That's right. So not too difficult. So just make sure to tweet at both of them. And Rocket will pick out a winner, hopefully towards the end of the show.
Yes.
And you'll be notified if you are that chosen winner. And I've got that mouse right in front of me right now. And so far, it's kind of smooth. And that's the best way I'll describe it for now. It's very smooth. But it is time to get on with the games. That's what we're all here for. That's what we're here for. That's what you're here for. To find out who is going to be the next two players to join the 6 already through to the round of 16. And as you mentioned earlier, the first game to kick us off is going to be a PvP between a former BlizzCon champion at 2010 and a GSL finalist in 2012, and Grubby, who is in search, and this is just step one of many steps yet to accomplish this season, in search of a season finals. He needs top 5 this season if he wants to compete at BlizzCon at the end of the year.
Absolutely.
Minimum.
Absolutely needs those points, you're right. And Akalon Waste will be our first map here in this PvP between Genius and Grubby. From Genius, currently playing from Korea, I am expecting him to be wild, fast and furious in this group. I'm expecting very, very good aggression. He was already aggressive when he was playing offline in GSLs and things like that. So never mind. Battling with those latency issues that we've seen a lot of Protoss from Korea doing in the past, certainly could bring some of that.
I feel that he's going to attempt, especially in the PvP, he's going to come into this series with detailed builds and strategies to the time. He won't play reactionary. He won't try to play around his opponent. It will be detailed and very, very strict on what he wants to achieve.
And spawning up to this top left-hand corner as our blue Protoss representing himself and the Netherlands, he is Grubby. And down to the bottom right, our red Protoss representing himself as well as Korea, he is Genius.
That's right. The two players without teams go head-to-head here to find out who moves on to the winners match in Group D. From I did some spying earlier.
Some spying?
Well, not just earlier. I guess earlier still works in the sense of these past few days. That I saw Grubby and Baby Knight play a lot of games together privately.
I saw this too.
Yeah, I've been practicing some builds. Not too sure what to expect here. But I know that Grubby's going to approach this series knowing that Genius will have to deal with latency playing from Korea, just like players before him have had to deal with. Some players have advanced with that problem too, just like Duck Duck.
Yep.
And we'll see what Genius has got planned. But the best way to play with lag is to make sure that the builds are crisp.
Yes.
That you kind of set yourself up for a winning advantage. For example, right now, Grubby's chain, proxy anything in my base. Doesn't take a lot of micro to proxy something and win very easily. Yep,
exactly. He's just checking all the eventualities that would come along from Genius here. But in the past, we've already seen Duck Duck prove that macro games are possible. In the previous season, not so much in the round of 32, but this season really changed it up a bit and made sure he was able to play out and he advanced. So it is doable, very much so, as for now, Genius, I mean, his build looks normal right now.
So far, so good, yeah. Just both players taking double gases. We'll see who mines from the most from each of these gases. Depends on what strategy you want to go for. Will depend on how many probes you put in the assimilators. So we'll have to follow that very shortly. Did you know, by the way, that Genius almost made it into Challenger League into Korea?
Did he?
Yeah.
What were the specific results? Do you have those to hand?
Not as in all the results, but he was one game away from making it to Challenger League.
Tough stuff.
Because the one season before WCS started, he got knocked out of Code A, which is what it was called then. He then had to play in the qualifier to get back into Code A, which is now called Challenger League. It was one game away. One game away, losing a PvP against a player called Paralyze.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for him, it didn't work out so well. And then he switched over to try and make it here and played in 4 qualifiers to make it to Challenger League in Europe.
Yeah, it's funny actually how a lot of these Koreans have come over, and I think that they probably anticipate the qualifiers to be quite easy, but the qualifiers in Europe have been anything but easy for a lot of these Korean players. Even Duck himself had huge amounts of trouble actually qualifying into Challenger and Premier. So it's a tough road here in Europe for these Koreans sometimes.
So both players, identical builds. Identical. 2 gateway, the unit count's the same. And right now, we're probably going to see 2 different tech paths. Grubby here, I feel, may try to play the more conservative style. So it might be something like, I don't know, maybe Stargate? Okay, so Stargate versus Blink. So 2 different tech choices here. Depending on how this goes, if Grubby is conservative or not, he's going to have to scout this out because an aggressive Blink play could work wonders, especially if Grubby doesn't switch over to Void Rays fast. Like, pure Phoenixes aren't going to be the best against a Blink play. If it is Blink play, of course, could be still DTs here.
Yep.
I wonder if it is DTs, considering we talked about, latency issues. But Grubby's got a probe scout.
Exactly. He sees it instantly.
Wow.
So he's going to know about exactly what the opportunities are here for Genius.
Wow, this is such a big scout. This is actually massive. You're not meant to have this scout.
Well, and the expansion's going to go down behind this as well. Did the probe die? I think the probe did die.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to spot the expansion at least, as that is not spotted. But Grubby, off the back of this, he's got his Oracle on the way.
Yeah, and he has to throw down the Robo, right? Because he's seen the Twilight Council in case there's going to be DTs. So he might go Oracle into Void Ray here. But then what if he goes Oracle into Void Ray? Void Ray, of course, being a very good option against Blink Stalkers. So he looks like he may be covering 2 options here. If that's if that's the case, his Nexus is going to be very delayed here. Very delayed. Because look at the difference between the 2 Nexus. I mean, one's going and one's non-existent, right?
And then
look at it. He's covering all his bases. Robotics Facility in case of DTs, Void Ray in case of Blink Stalkers. He's covering both tech choices. The one thing that he's not covering super well is the expansion play. But one thing that can help in this regard is the Oracle. If it does probe kills and gets probe kills, then he expands behind it. It's not that bad of a situation.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to have to use the Oracle to try and catch up if Genius does fly forwards with those probes. It's 28 to 27 right now. The 2 Stalkers wisely moving over here to try and deny this. And this, I don't think this should do too much damage.
Photon Overcharge is ready. He just puts down a Photon Overcharge in the main. He won't lose a single probe here.
Oh, loses a sentry, but that is it, as it does have to run away with that unit's lost, as you can see up in the top left. And expansion is going to go down off the back of this as well here for Grubby, as he has spotted his opponent's expansion. So very important for Grubby to keep up. It's much harder nowadays to actually just break this expansion with the 1 base, especially with Grubby's setup here.
Especially because the Mothership Core did not use the Photon Overcharge.
Yeah.
So Grubby cannot break this. He will have to throw down the Nexus and will have to try to play from a more difficult position. He can sure put pressure on, but there's no way he's just going to outright win.
Chrono boosted on the Immortals as well here is Genius. He already sees 1 come out, and there's going to be a second one following that up. Has to be careful once again, though. That's Sentry will end up dying off, and he'll retreat out. That's a good snipe out.
Yeah, no Force Fields, no Guardian Shield or anything along those lines. Grubby is moving across the map here with a few units. If he was to be able to maybe force some units in the main base with the Oracle... Actually, he's going to put the Oracle... Okay, yeah, he's going to try to bring units in the main base with the Oracle, and then try to Force Field the ramp or something along these lines.
And this is a really good timing to actually move in. I guess he's doing it the reverse way around, actually. He's trying to bring everything down to the bottom here, force field it out maybe, and then there we go, and then try and go in with the Oracle. But he's actually going to get an Immortal kill. That's a nice pickup there. Needs to run away with the Void Ray, though. Doesn't want to lose that.
Yeah, Oracle gets into the mineral line, gets a couple of kills. Not too many.
Ooh, might even die himself, but no, the Stalker's just slightly out of range there to finish that off. Genius keeping an eye on his opponent at the back as well. He does see the Chrono Boost on the Robo Facility, so Immortals will be present, but in this matchup nowadays, it's there's a lot about the Immortals to be said.
Yeah, and it's only 1 Immortal difference between the 2 players. Grubby did really well with what he had, right? That Void Rater killed an Immortal. The Oracle's killed a couple of probes. So the game's really equal, I'd like to say. Really, really equal at this point. Equal probes, pretty much equal unit count here. Very equal there. So considering that Genius did have a faster Nexus and could have been in a much better of a lead, this has worked out quite well for him. And the Oracle even sees the Forge too, which means there's no gateway timing coming from this. So Grubby throws down his Forge in retaliation. If you look in the production tab, he just throws down the same.
Yeah, exactly. And he also even got one cheeky little kill there with the Oracle. So really good control of the Oracle thus far, negating the positioning of the Stalkers and just finding any kind of little advantage he can here, whilst also going for the scout out with the Hallucinated Phoenix. So Grubby's trying to keep himself really, really informed.
Yeah, he's just looking around. He'll expand soon. In these positions, when you both know you're going for the same style here, which is going to be Templar Archives, Grubby may get the scout of that as well with the Hallucinated Phoenix. And he does, so this is perfect for him because he now knows that he shouldn't really be encountering an attack, considering the Forge isn't being chrono boost. He's got a couple of probes, he's slowing down his opponent again.
Wow.
This is definitely just an expansion here from Grubby.
And yeah, this Oracle, again, he's using Genius's building positioning against him here, flying in with the Hallucinated Phoenix, seeing exactly where his units are, and then accommodating to that. But as you said, the Templar Archives now going down for Grubby as well, absolutely has to catch up in that regard. And this is going to unfold a little bit further here. Genius currently supply blocked, whilst Grubby is not. 3 pylons down for Genius.
Yeah, making a couple of mistakes here, isn't he?
And that absolutely cannot happen at this level. He needs to be smooth and crisp because, again, fighting against latency, you want your build to be absolute crisp, as you mentioned before.
Yeah, and Grubby's really playing it safe with his gateway add-ons here. He definitely could have thrown down a Nexus and then the gateways here, but by the looks of it, he should be wanting to throw down the Nexus soon.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to fall victim to an attack, because if his opponent moved down right now and Grubby didn't have a good gateway count, he is playing this very conservative, and we can see that from the get-go of the game. Right? Just the way that he's played it out, going for the Stargate and then getting the Void Ray and Blink at the same time. He's played it out very, very well and very, very smart here. But one thing to note is that the army supply is a little bit in favor of Genius, just by a little bit here.
Yeah. I think in the end it will end up being negated if Genius does try and march across the map, thanks to the fact that Grubby will have superior positioning. But still, Grubby has been super effective with this Oracle in Pokemon terms. He's just tried to find every little avenue of attack, and he's kept it alive more to the point, which is something that you just... I say that. God damn it. All right, well, it's dead now. Never mind.
Look at the observer of Grubby, though. He's scouting for the third base all the time. He's like, when you put it down, you know, I'm going to be safe to do so. He delayed his Nexus a lot here to make sure he's safe. He's always checking the gateway count, always checking where the Chrono Boost is going into.
Yeah, and just breaking down these rocks as well for his third to go down. Where is his observer? It's going to come back and see that third, and he's now going to feel much, much safer with his third base on the way.
Absolutely.
And even the upgrades are at very, very similar times as well here, so there's not too much disparity between them.
It's really equal. Grubby's saying that, by the way that he's playing, I'm just looking, because he's the one that's reacting a lot more than Genius is, who's only really now sending out a proper scout for the first time, looking for the third base. But what Grubby's saying is that I'll go toe-to-toe with you. If you do this, I'll do it. That's fine. Because when it comes to a longer game and a later fight, because you're playing from Korea, I can probably control my army a little bit better than you, which would give me a bit of an advantage when it came to that scenario.
And now it looks like Genius is going to move out here. He has the Zealot advantage at least, and the army supply is relatively heavily in his favor. But Grubby now knows that this is moving out, so he can start warping in and supply himself with a good position to greet this army, and I think it should be okay.
Yeah, I mean, he sees the army approaching now. He's got Photon Overcharge for both Nexus. He isn't building probes. He's only building units. He'll have better position, because wherever Genius comes through is going to be filtered through. And of course, that High Templar was looking for the feedback on the Mothership core.
Yeah, and that's very important to make sure that that doesn't happen as the Protoss, and there's the opposing Protoss, I should say, because having time warps is really, really important in this matchup when you go into those engagements.
All right, well, I don't think Genius can even attempt to do this.
Yeah.
I don't think he even wants to. I think he's just kind of being there, you know? Just kind of putting presence out there, putting a bit of pressure onto Grubby. Great counter warp in here by Grubby saying, all right, if you're going to sit outside my base, bro, how are you going to defend, ho?
Exactly. It's going to be difficult. But that being said, he's coming back.
He's come back, so in this case, it's all right.
Yeah, it'll be fine. 3 of Zealots going to be separated over to the third, whilst these 4 go up to the natural.
Well, he might get a couple of probe kills here.
He may do.
He is getting probe kills.
12, 14. Whoa, this is actually getting... this is a really good control by Grubby. Look at the focus fire. He killed off around 10 workers already here.
Yeah, they were very equal. They were equal in everything until now when it comes to the probe difference. 64 to 51. A great counter move there by Grubby. You know, just kind of saying what we said. He was outside his base. He was not doing anything, so Grubby countered. Really nice play. And look at the timing of the robos.
Where are we looking?
For the robotics bay.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Both of them are identical. But I think the robo bay just finished for Genius seconds before Grubby's.
Yeah, so there is that transition up straight to those Colossi, and that's where time warps, in my opinion, become even more important in the engagements. If you can slow down Colossi when they're coming along, then you can absolutely kill them and hit them very, very hard. If your opponent isn't controlling properly. And even if he is, they're still too slow.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you end up getting a feedback on your opponent's mothership core, and you don't, and you have Time Warp and Colossus, and the Colossus can kite back, it's amazing. The Colossus with +3 attack on the way are going to offer so much damage, so much burst damage, just having four-ish Colossus towards the back of your army, which physically cannot be touched.
Yeah.
They actually cannot be touched. There's no units that can get to the back of them unless there was a warp in from behind, warp prism from behind, which we see a lot in pro games nowadays, or if we were to see Tempest come into play. But
exactly,
it's not how that happen.
No, it takes a long time to get up there. It's a big investment, and you leave yourself vulnerable to a very susceptible window that you don't necessarily want to give to your opponent. So it's a little bit of a treacherous path as both of these players trying to gear up for their 4th base as well. And Grubby he's just scouting out his opponent, seeing what's up. He knows his opponent's taking a 4th base. There was a Zealot over there.
What do you think about High Templar being... Because the difference between the two armies is that Grubby's got 6 High Templar compared to 1, which is the feedback for Genius, where Grubby's actually opted to get Storm.
Yeah. I
mean, do you like Storm in this case?
Against an opponent who has more Zealots than you, then potentially, but... the army sometimes does clump up really nicely, but... Against Protoss, Storm's not amazing. If someone's going for a load of Void Rays, then yeah, I like it, but not as much in this instance.
Okay.
How about yourself?
Well, I don't mind it, actually, because they kind of bring the shields down really fast. You know, the splash damage of Storms brings the shields down fast, and then with the burst damage that Grubby should have, yeah, should be able to melt this army quite good, especially if it's clumped up, which in the case a lot of times it is.
And especially if he leads with them, although he does need to get those Storms, and there do 2 go down.
Yeah, Grubby's not too keen on fighting, though. He was never out here to fight at all.
Yeah.
But some good Storms. Look at the Zealot damage.
He did a lot of damage.
Yeah, look at the damage. He did lose his High Templar, but look at the damage to the Zealots here. They're going to be picked off very, very fast here by the Colossus and Archons. But Grubby, a little bit behind in army supply.
And that's kind of what I was referring to. You know, just if you are very Zealot heavy, then it can do a lot of damage. But Archons and Immortal is going to tank it very quickly as the Archons do move on forward here.
Yeah, look at that. Look how fast the Zealots are gone.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden Gene's like, oh god, they went fast.
Bye-bye Zealots. Army supplies right now, 110, 116. Genius going to fall back despite having the larger army. Those Immortals going to start chasing him down, and Grubby feels as if he has the advantage right now.
If Grubby had a time warp, every Immortal would die.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be fantastic, but alas, he does not, so has to fall back, warping in some more Zealots for himself. And he does have all right pylons positioned up to the north, so he could try and get a flank at some point if his opponent tries to go for the assault. I mean, that's ideally what this pylon is for here. If he takes an engagement near him, warping in Zealots next to the side of it really can mess with Colossi if you're not controlling them really thoroughly.
Well, Grubby's got, well, actually they're equal, sorry, right now in Colossus. 6 apiece, very similar armies again. But there is this mothership core for Grubby, and there is not for his opponent. It's only just now on the way. That means there will be a time warp here for Grubby over his opponent, and that is a big, big advantage in a PvP.
I'm kind of surprised he left that until as late as he did to actually get it back. But
yeah, if Grubby takes a fight here with the time warp, which is available, uses his Colossus well at the back, and he's already picked off a bunch of free units here.
And he had a nice separation of his army as well, so if Genius were to have pushed into that, he would have taken a lot of damage. He's still working on those rocks to try and get into the 3rd.
But if you look at the units lost, have a very, very equal game, but there are just small differences between the both of them. Resources are like 1,500 roughly, is that?
Yeah, something like that.
2,000, just under?
Yeah. And the Zealot's going to go over to the 4th base as well, separating those off, because it gets to the point in this matchup, whereas once you max out and you're starting to build the perfect army, Zealots become less and less useful, right? You've got like just Archons, Immortals, and even more Colossi coming out. There's so many Colossus here.
Because Grubby's been dictating a lot of the play too, he was able to get his 4th up much faster than his opponent, therefore has a lot more gas banked up and just has, or had, a bit of a better income for the majority of this game.
Yeah, Genius here now moving into the middle of the map whilst we have more Archons warping in. This could be a good time to attack, actually, with those 3 Archons completely negated by their warping, and indeed he is going to go for it. Time Warp did slow down a lot of those Archons up to the very north of this battle, though, as Genius tries to get them into better positions. Grubby's Colossi spread is pretty good as well, but at the same time, I think he's just going to push straight on through. The Immortals are still alive here.
Grubby's warping into the fight. His opponent's warping in at a back base. There's a big difference between the both.
And the Colossi for Genius will push this back with the reinforcing Zealots for a little bit longer, and it looks like Genius can tickle away at some of those, but those warped in Zealots now, Genius cannot stay. He absolutely has to retreat.
Yeah, Genius warps in 12 Zealots here to help out. A DT gets warped in from Grubby to get to the mineral line. These Colossus, they're running away. They're going to die to Zealots here. And the Zealots from Grubby the Zealots from Genius come in here too.
Yeah, needs to get a few volleys off against this. As once those Colossi do chase him down, he could be in a bit of a bad predicament. Has to warp in a few more Archons and more DTs.
The difference between both of them, too, remember, is that Genius is on 55 probes compared to 77, which means when they actually had that fight, Genius had a stronger, well, not stronger, but a bigger army. So that's why it was a lot more even than we expected it to be there. But Grubby being much, much higher in probes and with a better income, his reinforcements are always going to be stronger, which means he's climbing up faster in supply.
The interesting thing was also is that Genius doesn't have an observer right now. So if an engagement comes and he still has DTs in the mix, he could take some damage if the Archon and Colossus Splash doesn't catch them, which does happen quite a lot of times. So there could be that advantage. I know, there he goes. He starts as 2 observers. Super important to have those.
You know, that's not Immortal production or something that Grubby's focusing on right now. But, you know, Grubby's got another base coming in. He just steps ahead of his opponent. And with a better income and a better economy compared to Genius, who is lacking a bit in that department, Grubby, as mentioned, is climbing much faster in his supply count. Already 30 supply in lead when they were very even for the majority of that there.
But again, to what you said previously, he has to be careful about when he takes those engagements, because he's 82 probes now to 49. That's a massive difference, not only in terms of the income, but also the army in favor of Genius, as you mentioned before. So he's got to be very careful about that, because the army supplies, despite the supply discrepancy, is not much at all right now.
Grubby being the richer nerd between the two, he even has +2 shields over his opponent, which doesn't have any, and that's going to affect a lot of these fights.
The richer nerd, probably not only in game, but also in real life. Grubby's earned a lot in the past, and the DT is going to lead the charge for Grubby.
Look at this. Grubby's going to drop into the main base here by the looks of it. Yeah. I mean, he could go to the 3rd.
Ooh, he's going to storm drop.
Yeah, okay. It could be the 3rd if he's got a high tempo. I thought it was just Zealots.
The funny thing is, he could actually storm drop, or he could try and hunt down Mothership cores and try and drop on those as well, but it's going to be the storm drop. There is no Mothership core still out for Genius. He needs to replenish that. He absolutely needs those time warps with this Colossus heavy army.
Yeah, Grubby just spending his money really well. That's a big warp in from Genius to deal with this.
Yeah.
But he has nothing to do with the warp prism. It can just sit outside and come in at another time.
Yep, it's going to be annoying. More High Templars are on the way. Could kill this Warp Prism off if the Archons do get a few cheeky volleys, but no, in the end, has to pull away.
Look at Grubby's map control too. Sees all the north bases, has a new base to the bottom left here too, so he's actually got a much better income than his opponent. 2,100 a minute compared to 1,100 a minute in the income. Big differences between both players. Grubby's got 2,000 minerals in the bank.
And that means that he can afford that fleet beacon to try and transition onto those Tempests. And unfortunately for Genius, he has no scouting, no opportunity to try and move out as well, because Grubby's constantly pressuring him and playing it very, very well indeed.
Well, that's a bit of a risky move there by Grubby, not really knowing where his opponent's army was, but does just get out there nice and easily. But Grubby's on 14 gateways. He can easily remax twice. Not remax twice, but replenish twice with 14 Zealots and then 14 Zealots again with the next wave because of the amount of money he's got banked up. So any fight he takes, as long as he's near reinforcements, or at least near reinforcement pylon or warp prism, and he's adding on 8 gateways.
Wow.
With all the minerals,
and
he's
another
at 14.
Base. And another base. This is going to get out of hand here if Genius doesn't do something about it. Grubby is in his element when he starts playing like this.
22 gateways he'll have. 22 Zealots to reinforce the ones he loses. And because he's maxed out, all the gateways will be available to be used. So as he loses Zealots, 22 will just replenish instantly.
Oh, and the Tempests are now being cranked out here for Grubby. So this is only getting more and more worse for Genius. He is pinned back on these 4 bases, can't really get a 5th base, and even if he tries, there's going to be a Dark Templar to shut that down. And he's even losing a little bit of his infrastructure in the middle, you know, losing some pylons. He's going to be supply blocked for a little.
Yeah, this is, I keep saying it, it's just a fantastic position for Grubby to be in. Genius is going to have to take a very, very good fight here if he's going to somehow get back into this game. One thing he does have going for him, he's got a lot of Archons.
Oh, yeah.
I love Archons.
Archons are cool, man. 10 versus 2. Wow. That's a big, big difference here.
They're going to sit at the front of this army and not be killed off too easily. Storms are going to be crucial on top of these Archons.
And army supply is 150 to 112, basically because of how low he is in the probe count. So Genius's advantage is it's in this army, massively so.
I'm not sure if the Tempest is the best decision for Grubby, considering how far ahead he is with economy and being able to just replenish all the time. You think one Tempest is going to do a lot here against all these Colossus?
Well, the second one joins the fray, but one will not.
It's just wasted supply almost.
They get way caught out of position here. Both of them are going to die off.
Great Storms.
Yeah, that army was significantly clumped up here, but at the same time, Genius is melting. Those Colossi doing a lot of damage, but his army supply is still vastly superior.
Grubby lost a lot.
Grubby could have overprobed here very heavily, because now his opponent's knocking on his doorstep. Yes, he has replenishment, but if he can never take this army straight up...
Yeah, he's at 86 probes, and going Tempest, I'm not sure if that was the best thing, and 7 DTs.
That's a lot of...
There's an Observer, though. He's trying to get rid of it, but he misses it.
He's trying to catch it, and if he can, that's good, because, whoa, those Zealot Weapons as well as these Dark Templars just rip up a lot of this. Army supply now 80 to 60. I guess we shouldn't doubt the fact that the replenishment is pretty strong in this
22
position.
gateways, man. I thought I was a little bit scary about Grubby losing all that, but no. No.
That was interesting, actually, how that worked out, because it's rare you get in those situations that one person is so ahead in economy that a lot of their army supply is just not there in comparison to another's.
Yeah.
And then the replenishment, again, that was a lot of units that just materialized.
Dude, I was watching like 8 DTs and then the rest in Zealots to deal with that. So nice fights there. Nice game from Grubby. And I like the way that he approached this series too. Just play toe-to-toe over equal. Whatever you do, I'll do the same. And then eventually win out in the later stages. Knowing that the weakness of players that play from Korea are going to be the later stages. Hence MVP going for SCV all-ins when he played the other day, or the other week, should I say. You know, all the time SCV pulls before he got to that late game.
All right, game number 2 is on the way. It's going to be Belchir Vestige, and then if we see a third map, it's going to be Yonsu, which I wasn't really expecting. So we're working its way in a little bit here in WCS Europe. But Genius, if he can tie this up, I would like to see a game number 3 from these two guys. I was not expecting him to prolong that game and go on to the later stages, but he was trying to take the advantages, right? He had that Nexus down a little bit quicker than Grubby, so maybe that could have made up for the slight disadvantage he has. But Grubby looked really good that game. Yeah,
I definitely think that Genius, upon choosing to, not really on choosing to get the Nexus, upon being scouted and then having to throw down the Nexus for a bit of a change up to what he was planning to do, I think he did say, as you said, all right, I'm just not gonna work out with trying to do what I wanted, but I'll try and get a faster Nexus and play it from here and hope Grubby goes over defensive with reactions with the Robot, with the Stargate and Void Ray. It was a decent hope, but the Oracle and then the attack to the front, killing off that Immortal, neutralized the game. Yeah,
it was really well done, especially the Oracle control. I have to go back to that. Getting 10 kills off the back of... I mean, there was always 2 Stalkers in that mineral line, but he still somehow found kills, which is really, really impressive there from Grubby. But Genius... he has been one of my favorite Protoss for a long time in the Korean scene. So I would love to see him do well here and advance on. He was always a very interesting character in team leagues, and then especially during that final against Don Regu where they were teasing each other so much. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, sometimes I was borderline bad manner, man, when Don Regu came to start tickling him stuff when he was losing.
So good. Oh. Anyway, let's jump into game number 2 as we do have spawning up to the top left-hand corner representing the Netherlands. He is... Grubby. And down to the bottom right, we have our red Protoss representing Korea. He is Genius.
We'll see how well he can do. Of course, Genius formerly on MVP, where he made the big splash of his StarCraft 2 career. Then moved on to play for Team Slayers, only for a brief month or 2.
Yeah, not too long.
Maybe 3 or 4 months on Team Slayers. Didn't really achieve that much, actually. That was kind of the start of his decline with the StarCraft 2 results when he joined Slayers, unfortunately. And then he joined Azubu. And now he's teamless.
Now he's teamless. I wonder if he's going down the same route as a few of the other Koreans looking for a foreign team. Playing in WCS Europe, it would be quite useful. And maybe we'll see a pickup from him soon. I would love to see a foreign team pick up Genius. If I could see him at more foreign events, I would be a happy man.
I mean, Genius is a good player. I mean, he loves his, well, in the olden days, loved his Void Rays and loved his All-Ins.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he can bring that to the table today. Funnily, in his Challenger League qualifier runs, he ran into quite a few players that he lost to that are now in Premier League. Targa, Starbuck today, that's in the same group. And he even joined hand-in-hand when he qualified for Challenger League. It was hand-in-hand with Showtime.
Yeah, I would, if anybody can remember back to those games that Genius played against Starbuck, then they would be certainly surprised at what did occur. I was very surprised at what occurred, and that really does show, it is a testament to how Starbuck plays. I hope he brings something crazy to the table today. If he does, again, happy man.
I really, for Genius, looking on Genius's side of joining the WCSEU, just as the builds are shaping up, by the way, they are identical once again with double gases and so on. But Genius, I really feel, is a player that was, you know, decently towards the higher end of Protoss players in Korea. He got to the final, he won BlizzCon, but then he's kind of slipped off a little bit in these last couple of years. There's a lot of people that are new to StarCraft 2 that may not even know who Genius is.
Yeah, true.
But one thing that really kicks back in is a fighting spirit from a former finalist and champion at BlizzCon. What always comes back is, I want that feeling again. I want to be a winner again. And he's really seemed to be putting a lot of effort to make it in the European scene. 4 qualifiers in a row to make it to Challenger League, only just narrowly getting through on the last one. And here he is now making his way through Challenger as well. And he plays in Premier League.
Slight deviation here from Grubby, going for Sentry, as opposed to the Stalker here from Genius.
Yeah, he may be looking for an expansion play here. It is a little bit risky. Sentry definitely indicates more of a reactionary expansion play, I think. Because with the Sentry coming in and the Mothership Core, the Sentry here to bank energy nice and early, can use Hallucinated Phoenix nice and early to find out what his opponent's doing for. The Mothership Core can start banking energy as well. A Stalker coming in from Grubby is protection against any Stargate play as well.
Yeah.
2 Stalkers, in fact.
And slightly funny because...
But it may be also a Blink play.
Well, Genius didn't spot that Sentry. Genius left with the probe a little bit earlier, trying to, you know, get away from a Stalker that will be coming out. So he doesn't know fully about the fact that there is a Sentry out, which will be banking that energy, and if it gets time later on, can throw down that hallucination to see exactly what his opponent's up to, which is always quite useful.
Grubby may throw down a 3rd gateway.
Look at this, he sees the Twilight Council again.
He sees it again. Oh, I wasn't even following his probe. Wow.
So he knows what's up.
Yeah, this is this definitely feels now he's got that scout like it would be just a robo expand, safe robo expand. I was trying to figure out what Grubby was going to go for here. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it could have been just on reliant on that probe getting information.
Yeah. There is the potential of that, but yeah, at the same time, you can't bank on the fact that you're always going to get that information right. Like, there could be Stalkers to try and shut you down. He got a little bit lucky in getting in there, and the Stalker did finally kill it off, but the Mothership Core, he's going to have to recall out here. He's going to have to... Ooh, that was kind of close.
Left that to the last minute, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, he does get out. But now any engagement that will come later on, that Mothership Core is going to be very, very vulnerable. It has 100 HP less when a fight does come.
And Genius has just fallen back on an expansion here again. And likewise should Grubby here. He was trying to get that information, sending out a hallucinated Phoenix to see what's going on.
And that's the advantage of having that Sentry that early, because, you know, there was no aggression coming along. He didn't need to throw down a force field, and even if he did, he could have warped in another one. It's all about having that 100 energy early on to see what's going on.
Twilight not doing anything. Robo come down. 3 Stalkers, 2 Sentries, and a Nexus. All right, perfect. I wonder if Grubby maybe tries a Warp Prism with Immortals here. Depends on where his Chronoboost goes. Well, he's got the second Immortal. We could see a Warp Prism follow the second Immortal to try to pressure around his opponent.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit risky.
Oh, yeah.
Because if the Photon Overcharge can help push it away, maybe he researches Blink because he's got the Twilight Council coming down.
Yeah, so you kind of have to prepare for that if you want to go for it. But at the same time, this is gonna go straight into that macro game again. It's rare nowadays you see people just, you know, get that second base and then just throw up a load of gateways and maybe the Robo Bay for like 1 Colossus like we saw previously to just kind of pressure. Who was it who was doing that? Was it in the Intel Extreme Masters qualifiers?
I think so, yeah.
That was just going for the 1 Colossus and just going gun-ho without Thermal Lance.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's options available if you see some room to make.
Grubby's going to try and hit a timing here. He's spending all his Chronoboost into the robotics facility, trying to get out 3 Immortals before he starts his Colossus production, and he will try to go for a 2-base attack. His opponent's thrown down the Forge, and Grubby's been very active with scouting. He goes in, sees the Forge coming down, So at the moment, it looks identical to previously. He even sees the gas has been taken on the natural. So it looks like Genius is going to throw down the Templar Archives and just keep up with Immortal production. So what Grubby's going to try and do here, from what it seems, is forget about the Forge, I think. If he wants to spend all his money on Colossus, he'll just go for like a 2 Colossus push, maybe?
I think he might even just go with 1, by the looks of things, if he's not going to get Thermal Lance. So, and he's just going to throw the Gateways down next to it. So I guess what I was saying about having no Thermal Lance before was kind of apt.
Yeah, and he's got 3 Gateways just about to finish up too. But this is going to be scouted here by Genius. He's going to go in. He sees the Chrono Boost on the robotics. He sees the robotics bay. He sees the 6 Gateways.
Yeah, he knows what's up.
He's got to be panicking, man.
He certainly has to be. The Mothership Core needs to move across with this if he wants to actually make it work. But yeah, he knows exactly what's going on. He saw that the Robo Bay wasn't making anything. So, you know, what else can really be going on at this point? Yeah,
he throws down 3 more Gateways, trying to Chrono Boost out more Immortals. Genius is going to have to make a Genius hold here because he's got +1 attack on the way. He's trying to Chrono Boost it out. If he can get +1 attack, it will help. It will help indeed to keep the defense up. But Grubby's coming now.
Yeah, this army. Let's have a look. See, army supply 35 to 39. Genius is getting a Colossus out of himself. Once again, Chrono boosting that out, knowing that he needs the defense. He's also getting Thermal Lances, so if he can get that out as well, he's going to be in a good spot. But straight Chrono boosts on all of these gateways here for Grubby.
Great position from Genius too. Look at his position, just on the right-hand side. He'll Photon overcharge the natural.
Where is the Mothership Core? Okay,
just slightly right to it.
And the Time Warp already goes down here for Grubby, trying to deal with this. He's going to go straight for the Nexus. Ooh, this could cost him a little bit if he's not careful. Goes for the engagement, tries to force that back. The Nexus is going to fall, though. He needs to recall. He doesn't have a recall, so he's Time Warping. Going to try and rely on that. Force fields.
This is you don't need to go in and kill your opponent, even though you could. I mean, he just keeps on warping in units because he has a better income, but he easily can fall back and expand. Grubby's got multiple options after this kill. And I think he just exploited the position of his opponent. He's like, yeah, you're in a great position to defend my attack, but you're not in such a good position to defend your Nexus.
Those force fields at the end, were those Grubby's force fields or Geniuses?
The ones at the end were Geniuses.
Yeah, because that kind of really worked against him if he wanted to go and pursue. But now, at the same time, he has to defend this location. His income's going to be severely wounded. The Mothership Core will end up dying off super quick there. Didn't really have too much energy to do much else, though, as that Time Warp do go down on both sides. But at the same time, Grubby still has a lot of firepower here, but it has been negated. The 3 Immortals, there's only one of them left. So Genius now needs to hold, but there's so many Zealots warped in for Grubby.
Better income, just reinforcing much, much stronger than Genius could ever hope to do off one Nexus.
Targeting down this Nexus again, trying to force a cancellation. Needs to warp in more Zealots. Income still very much in favor of Grubby, so he can warp in from those gateways. Loses Colossus, and now it's 2 Colossus against none.
Yeah, really nice pick-off. Great micro by Genius with the Immortals onto the Colossus, and he's kept them all alive. 3 Immortals alive with 2 Colossus.
Yeah, it was a really good force field as well, just to make sure that the Zealots couldn't continue pursuing those Immortals that he does want to keep alive here. Grubby doesn't have that much more firepower left over. Genius might just go for this, and the counter-attack potential for him is massive.
Yeah, with 3 Immortals and 2 Colossus.
Yeah.
Grubby starts another Colossus up here. Is Genius going to go for this? He hasn't got a probe on the map, though, remember?
Look at this pylon down at the bottom of Genius's base, and he does spot that, so he will kill it off. And he's going to have to go home. But now, the income still wildly in favor of Grubby. Well, just a little bit, not a huge amount, as that Nexus does now finish up for Genius. And he did well of saving that a second time. So, despite Grubby killing off that Nexus,
yeah, I don't think he should have stuck around. Well, he definitely killed the Nexus, but I feel that instead of just trying to hammer the win in, could have just pulled back and just said, all right, I'll keep my Colossus alive. I'll fall back and get Thermal Lance.
And exploited the fact that he had the better income for quite a while.
And then play the game longer. Yeah. But he tried to win the game there and then, and unfortunately, Genius was able to keep his 3 Immortals alive, keep his double Colossus alive, and now Grubby's got 1 Colossus, 1 Immortal.
Without Thermal Lance.
Without Thermal Lance, and just, well, he's seconds away from getting it, but what is Genius? Yeah, he's pulling up a probe now. He's going to try and counterattack, so it's up to Grubby now to defend. He's not too far away in terms of army supply at all.
Yeah. And, well, he does have the opportunity to do a Time Warp, or even the Photon Overcharge if he wants to. Because this army for Genius right now is not that big.
Yeah.
It's not too big at all.
And Grubby's setting up a counterattack with the second robotics facility. So if Genius comes in and it doesn't work, Grubby has double Colossus production, then he bounces back on the other side of the map too.
But the committal to that for Grubby might hurt him if he plays the game longer, because Genius behind this, he's got his Templar Archives on the way to get those, the Archons out. So it's Genius's army is going to be more well-rounded in essence.
Well, he's got a better upgrade too, remember. He's got +2 attack on the way.
Oh, yeah. This could be going in Genius's favor. His army supply is 77 to 66. He even has better worker supply. So he did well to react as accordingly as he did at that natural.
Well, Genius spots out Grubby's army, sees, all right, two robotics and double Colossus, and I think he's going to try to break it here.
Hallucinated Phoenix moves forward, sees that his opponent's army is moving back, which is always a nice feather in the cap to have here for Grubby, as he can do what he wants. And it looks like he's going to go for the third.
Yeah, both players may fall back on an expansion here, but remember that the advantage for Genius with his upgrades will pay a big difference in the fight.
And it's going to take a long while here for Grubby to get up to Templar Archives because he's only just got his Twilight Council going down. Wow, Genius's third base location. That's kind of cool.
It's kind of wonky. But Grubby may spot it with his probe on this right-hand side.
May do. He's going up there. I think he wanted to put a pylon as well.
Yeah, that was just a pylon probe, not a scouting probe. But that's really good for Grubby because if he'd kept on scouting the third on the left-hand side, he would have played a lot more cautious.
Yeah, exactly.
With his third timing. But now upon seeing this...
Whoa.
But Grubby has not thrown his Nexus down yet.
And he's going to fall behind in these upgrades even more so if he's not careful.
He's going to attack.
+3 is on the way.
Grubby's going to attack. I don't think he's going to throw the Nexus down, right?
I mean, it could be a cool idea.
Weird.
But the thing is that his opponent has a third base. That's a lot of minerals sank into that. And if he... But he has the Twilight Templar Archives, so he is trying to expand, but Genius isn't going to let him. This is a little bit later than I was ever anticipating.
Nice recall, yeah.
Oh, leaves a Zealot and does kill off one probe at least, so that's by the by. As those probes all get transferred down to that third location here for Genius, so his economy is going to be super strong.
Is Grubby going to expand, or is he just going to fight? He's got a higher Colossus count. And the longer the game goes on, the less Colossus become important. But I still feel an expansion is much, much better because the Colossus count's so easy, so close. It's going to be very easy for Genius to hold off, I feel. The high ground advantage.
I don't know what it is, Sean, but the past week or two, we've had some really strange games. And this one's shaping up a little bit strange as well.
With Grubby expanded to this side, it's an interesting one.
Yeah. Okay. +3 is going to... If Genius went with +3, I actually don't see how Grubby could hold this off ever.
Yep. He's in a very good position after that hold early.
Yeah. Grubby's going to set himself up a potential concave, but this +3 weapons hitting up against +1, oh my god, it's going to be so much damage.
Well, he's going just before +3, and he's still got a lot of damage output.
Yeah, he certainly does, but he's going to lose a lot of those Zealots for free. Good Time Walk catches those. Loses a lot of Zealots himself, though.
That was really cost-efficient there for Grubby. Really cost-efficient. And maybe even the Mothership Core. He does get it as well.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Cheeky Stalker.
Genius a little bit sloppy with that attack up there. But he hasn't found his opponent's third base. If he comes up here, he's sending a Zealot to look for it. Ideally, his unit should have gone there, sniped it, and then backed out. But he finds it. He may turn around. Yeah, he's going to turn around for it.
Yeah, that's ideal. I mean, there's no way that Grubby can engage that properly.
Grubby now sees Genius's army. He's going to lose his third.
Bye-bye third.
Oh, this is awkward.
I think he might end up trying to expand up the top right. There are some counter Zealots here for Grubby to maybe even things up. Cannon is on the way, so Grubby hits this at the perfect time here to do some damage.
Yeah. Nice little bit of damage, but Genius is definitely in the lead now. Definitely. I mean, he has been for the majority of this game, if I'm going to be honest with you. But with this third base down, and more importantly, just the extra gas income.
Yeah, exactly. And
He's just going to have a better army.
Being able to fuel all those Colossi, all those Immortals. He even has more Immortals. It's like 7 Immortals to 3. And for me, Immortals really are the backbone of the army. If they stay alive for long enough, they're dishing out so much damage. And, well, Grubby separates himself again. +3 against +2 here. The Archon's actually going to lead the charge here for Genius, as the Colossi doing a lot of damage. But again, it's the Archons that are just sound the ground, killing off everything. Genius ties it up 1-1. GG.
Yeah, GG indeed. Still feel that, I definitely feel that Grubby could have won that game if he just snapped the Nexus and got out of there. I think that would have been my Coach Apollo laws coming in.
Yeah.
Said, you know, all right, you got the Nexus, now get out. Just take it easy. When you're ahead, get more ahead in this regard. But work out. But still, 1-1. I still think Grubby's very confident with how this series is played out. Because I think he'd look at game number 2 and be like, yeah, I probably could have won that.
Yeah.
I'll let you win. I'll let you win.
Oh, what a kind man. But now we have Yonsu as our third and final map here for PvP. Really not seen that many PvPs on this map. So interested to see how it's going to work out. But again, mirror matchup. It's equal on both sides. But this could go either way after seeing that. I would give the edge to Grubby a little bit after game 1 and then game number 2. Maybe the slight decision-making, as you mentioned, was a little off. But I think Grubby's got a good shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, when they're playing online here and Genius has to deal with the latency issue, this matchup's just favored towards Grubby.
Yeah,
I don't think too many people can argue that. Maybe some Genius fans out there. But there's definitely a favoritism towards Grubby when it comes to this. If it was played live, then I would back off and I'd be like, all right, this is a very equal series. I'm not sure who would win it. But in this regard, Grubby definitely has an advantage. Genius just comes into this group naturally with a disadvantage over the other 3 European players here. But we'll see how things shape up coming into the next map. Yonsu then. So this map, I haven't seen too many PvPs. I've played a couple of them myself, but I've been playing a lot of Terran recently, not so much Protoss. So I've only played a few of them, but I don't think it really makes that much of a difference, to be honest.
No, not too much. Maybe there's 1 or 2 spots again that can have... it's going to be... I tell you what it's going to come down to more than anything. It'll just come down to random pylons that have been placed that people don't really scout out too often, those kind of locations, because they just don't know the map. We've spoken about it previously, about that, maybe people just aren't as used to this map. But it did make it through here between these 2 guys. I don't think any map would have been a big difference, if it had made it through. So
no, I don't think so too much. I don't think it's going to affect the players too much at all coming into this this new map, which is new to Season 3 here at the WCS and new to the ladder. If you haven't played too much ladder recently, you're going to have a look at this new map with us today. We've played it quite a bit, and we're excited to obviously cast the game here between these 2 players. But so far, it's been a bit of an interesting series.
It certainly has.
Favorite towards Grubby, I think, both games, even though we lost that number 1. But we have to talk a little bit about Genius's hold there. Despite Grubby giving him a bit of a push in the right direction with keep on attacking, keeping the 3 Immortals alive and the 2 Colossus in that regard, I think he may have had 4 overall, may have lost 1, but that was a really, really solid hold from the reinforcements. Remember, it was 2 Nexus versus 1 for a long, long time. So sure, Grubby had a bit of a better income pushing him, but with the better units and the retaining of those units, he was able to make that quite a decent hold.
Yeah, I will say on the flip side of that as well, Grubby losing those 2 Immortals at the timing that he did as well. If they'd have been alive for a little bit longer, he had maybe some units in front of them, that might have been a different story. But in the end, no, Grubby is defeated in game number 2. And now the countdown's begun for game number 3 here on Yonsu, which I'm very interested to see. I've been actually really enjoying the new maps. The change-up on ladder, I've really thoroughly been enjoying it. So it's nice to see these new maps in. They may not be everybody's cup of tea, but they're certainly mine. As we now jump into this map, spawning down in the bottom left-hand corner here are blue Protoss representing the Netherlands. He is Grubby. And up to the top right, as our red Protoss representing Korea, we have Genius.
Gotta love the lasers in this game, in this series. Lots of lasers.
Yeah, we're back to old school. Well, not so much. There's a lot more Archons than before, a lot earlier. But yeah, lots of Colossi.
All right, what do you think the techs we're going to see from both players so far? I'd just like to remind everyone, or maybe some people are tuning in that haven't watched the first 2 games. Twilight Council twice in a row by Genius, twice scouted by Grubby, and twice thrown down the Nexus, saying, all right, it's been spotted. Compared to Grubby, who played very reactionary with his play, especially because he was the one that got the probe scout in. So what happens, do you think, Genius? Does he go Twilight Council? And then the second question is, oh my god, Forge. I'm just going to shut up right now because this is more important than anything we can say. Because we cannot predict builds that are going to come when there's a Forge.
No.
He's going to cannon rush.
Oh, wow. Where's he going to go? Because this is interesting now, because this map is not as well
just to the edge,
out.
just to the corners of the base.
Just to the corner?
Yeah, you start on the low ground and then just go in the corner.
I think he goes down here.
I'm not sure. I think he goes on the other side and then cannons up, remember?
Yeah.
Pylon cannon down here and then comes in and cannons into the main base.
Oh, geez, and the distance isn't that... Oh... Okay, this is
Grubby's
cool.
looked around, but he hasn't seen it. He could lose to this very, very easily.
He went up to this location at the very beginnings, like, right, there was nothing up there, that's fine, but it's going to be on the low ground at the beginning. He could have seen that if he'd have gone up there later on.
Yeah, what a boss.
Oh, wow.
Is Genius, man. Balls of steel.
Yeah.
As Grubby keeps his pylon. Oh, that was one hope. Maybe put the pylon a bit more north, he'd be able to see it.
He's even got trees to hide the cannon.
Yeah, oh god, this is not good for Grubby at all.
That's funny. Oh dear.
Oh, here comes another pylon outside of Grubby's range just.
Oh, he barely sees it.
Oh, the Cybercore doesn't see it either.
This is Oh, this is going to be heartbreaking for Grubby if he doesn't somehow send something. The probe, it sees it.
Okay, now he sees it.
But
Now he knows. He knows it's a
bottom.
cannon rush. He already knows it's a cannon rush.
Yeah.
He's like, oh crap, because that's what you say here.
Yeah.
This is not so good. He forges himself. He's gonna have to try and cannon defense. Oh god, there's 2 cannons.
That's going to be too much. That first cannon, and even not the second one, is also in that range of that Nexus as well. This is really hard for him to deal with. He has to pull probes, but at the same time, there's that cannon on the low ground. Very meticulous about the positioning there, but one probe will end up going down. It's going to kill one cannon, but that second one's guaranteed to complete.
Oh man, I don't know how he's gonna deal with this. I actually don't know.
No, it's in range. How would you fend this off?
I've actually played against a lot of cannon rushes when I was playing Protoss, and I lost every single time. Every time I lost.
That's
but I'm
good.
not Grubby.
No, you are not Grubby.
Maybe there's a miracle he can pull off, but the thing is the cannons will never stop coming.
Chrono boosting Stalkers out is a good choice in my opinion, because again, you can try and find ways and avenues to pick at it, but the cannons are going to kill off the gateway before the Stalker even finishes, Apollo.
Yeah, and then he's going to lose his Cyber Core, and then he's going to lose his Nexus. All he's got is a Mothership Core here.
Oh, really good decision making to focus down that gateway, because now there's really not a whole lot he actually has.
He doesn't have anything.
No.
He has nothing. He has the Mothership Core, and yeah, he can go maybe one shot, get hit by the cannon, and then come back because it has the same range.
Oh dear, and even building a gateway on the other side.
This is a nightmare. Behind this, we have the Cyber Core gateway coming in for Genius. He's saying, all right, if somehow this is held...
The probes come off the line here to try and tank a little bit of this. He knows he's going to take some losses, but those cannons, they're not going to be up in time here to deal with it. The Mothership Core comes out, but yeah, that's too much firepower here for Genius. GG.
Wow.
What a game number 3 to end it.
Genius, man. All I can right now see is Genius with his thumb down.
He's like...
That's right. Down, Grubby, to the losers match. And Genius moves on to the winners.
Wow.
I mean, what more can you say is that when you play against Koreans with latency, you have to be careful. Grubby scouted in his main base and his natural all 3 games. Not both, but all 3 games, but didn't double check for that. Did not expect it. And there we have it, as simple as can be.
Very impressive by Genius there, taking the final game. As you said, balls of steel, my friend. And those thumbs down, he's all over that. All right, well, that does it for our first series.
Yeah.
And now, after the break, we are going to have an interesting one indeed. It's going to be the young buck, Mr. Starbuck, going up against the very, very hardened veteran in the form of Mouse Lucifron. Join us after the break, guys.